looking for something. A new way, a new understanding, a connection, some comfort. You've got questions, and Light on Living puts the spotlight on all the answers so you can shine. Lift and lighten the load of life's challenges and learn simple and easy ways to live a healthy, happy life. You'll gain insight and start to see things in a new way that motivates you. You're invited to hear new, see different, and feel more as Lisa shines the light on living.
Hello and happy Monday, everyone. We're here at Light on Living. I'm your everything, your host, your creator, your everything, Lisa Berry of today's show. And I have a really special guest. And why I'm calling her the super special guest is, as you guys know, I usually interview authors. But Today, we have way more than the author. We have the one supporting the author, holding the author, doing so much. I'm going to just do my wonderful introduction here of the lovely Dawn Bates, and then welcome you on, Dawn. But I have to share with everybody right now, Dawn, she's a location-free ocean nomad. How about that? I just love even saying that. But more than that, as a world leader in change, an author, a publisher, an international best-selling author strategist, and leadership coach. Ready for this, guys? A molecule-shaking speaker. And Dawn is joining us today to educate us, well, on so many things, but why it's important to share your story and the impact it can have. She demonstrates this by the transformational outcomes who benefit from these things. Dawn, when I first met you, first of all, welcome to the show. I'm clapping.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here.
We knew we could have some fun here, and it's so neat that I introduce so many authors to people, but I love that you hold different space for authors, because I shared this on my Facebook Live earlier, so everybody's got to catch that. If they go to OMTimes Radio on Facebook, there is you want to see change. You need to see change, and you knew you could create change with your writing. So if I could just start there, can you share a little bit of how, you've changed the world? You're not just a world leader. You've made changes in this world. Can we start there and just ask about that and where that drive comes from?
Oh, wow. That's not too much of a lofty title or accolade, is it? No pressure. Well, I guess I suppose firstly we've got to understand what we mean by I've created change.
Yes.
Is it in the individual? Is it in a community? Is it on a global stage? And yes, to all of those I have. Whether it was when I was told that I was a voice for the Egyptian people by the Egyptian people themselves, and I was a much needed voice for the Egyptian uprising. I've been many times that a lot of my books, they just say, I write what everybody else is thinking but are too afraid to say, or they've given individuals the hope and the courage to continue, or actually leave a situation, or step up and become the person that they've always wanted to be but never had the courage to be, to receiving videos or voice notes where my clients are crying with joy or squealing with delight, or just like, oh my God, it's real. You've just made my dream come true. And I'm just like, oh my God, no, I didn't do that. You did that. But then I had to learn to take, you know what? I was part of that process. I did hold space for them. I did help them have their dream become a reality, because a lot of people, they just write books as a marketing gimmick these days. They don't actually understand that there is a lot, when you're writing a book from soul, like this is your purpose to write this book. They're a very different kind of author. These are the authors that I work with. People who just want to write a book as a landing page or a lead magnet, that really don't want to put any, it's just a load of emails or a few top tips, and they've written a book, but they haven't written a book, if you know what I mean.
Yes.
And they're doing it for ego status. They're not my kind of clients. They're not people that I work with. So the work that I do it's sacred work. It's not just about writing a book. It's a healing journey for many of them. It's a healing journey for communities. And it's awareness on a very big, large global stage that we bring, we bring awareness to a lot of issues around the world.
Yes, I thank you for sharing that and giving a little bit a stronger foundation. You know, I was running through all the reasons why people might write. You know, there's going to be countless. And then what really came up is it's not always, like you said, it can be healing journey, or, you know, to create change and impact, but it also could be for sales. I mentioned that earlier, lead magnet for sure. There is something that's created when somebody writes. And I love that you hold that space. We talk about how you're an author strategist. And why must there be a strategy? Like, what is the benefit and the difference if somebody doesn't have a strategy to somebody who does?
Well, results.
Yes.
You know, but again, try running a business without a strategy. Try making a living in life without having a strategy. If you're just blowing around like a leaf on the wind, I mean, it sounds very utopian, very, you know, I'm just going to go. I mean, as a sailor, I have to go where the winds take me majority of the time. So I live my life by the direction of the winds and the direction of the currents, you know. So it's, but if you, as an author, you're creating a product. You are creating a business, and you have to understand the dynamics of business. Otherwise, you're not really going to make a lot of money, or you can be ripped off by a lot of publishers. And if you don't have a clear strategy for how and who your book is going to impact, then you're not going to be it's just like finger in the air time. And yes, you know, some people will argue that strategy is 20% while soul purpose and listening to soul is 80%. There are others that say, no, strategy is 80% and soul is 20%. It really depends on who you are and where you are in your evolution of like 5D consciousness as to where that balance shifts. But at the end of the day, if you are going to write a book, I mean, I encourage my authors to write from what I call the unconscious conscious creation space. And that's a very beautiful process. And then we go shopping with the universe, and then we look at, okay. Yeah, that's a fun part. I love that part. But we're looking at, okay, what's your investment? How much have you invested in this? And I'm not just talking money. I'm talking time. I'm talking energy. Okay, I'm talking the time away from your family, or the time where you have given up so much. We're looking at the true costs, the investments that you've made. Because if you haven't written this book, it's costing you your focus. If you haven't written this book, it's costing you your impact. So it's about shifting their perception of what a cost and an investment and a debt is. Because I don't look at those three words in the same way that money mindset coaches will probably look at them, or what financial advisors or accountants look at them. Your happiness and your purpose is a cost.
Yes. Oh, I love that. And when you just said if you have not written it, it could cost you your focus. And I love that focus is an energy. It's a resource.
Absolutely.
It's all we have.
Yeah.
And did you ever put off, like, had you had a time where you needed to write and you couldn't for whatever circumstances were going on? Did that ever, have you experienced that?
Yeah. In a nutshell. Very quick answer.
Yes.
And that was, and this is what, you know, if you don't know why if you're not looking at why you're not writing your book, and you don't go soul deep, it led me going, okay, why is this book not coming out? Like, for example, The Wife, which is the first book in my next trilogy, the Trilogy of Identity, which will be out in a few years' time. I'm kind of writing it. It might be out soon. I don't know. I'm focusing on the Sacred series and the Mermaid's Guides at the moment. But some of the books in the Trilogy of Life itself are already kind of written. So we're just, you know, they're evolving. But I couldn't write and publish The Wife, because I had written the outline of the book. I'd written down, okay, this is what I want to write about. This is the things I want to highlight. And it was almost as if I'd called in my own divorce.
Oh.
So I was like, okay, I'm not going to write that book now, because that would be really unfair to my ex-husband. Because we know what people are like. They read something and they go, oh, that's about so-and-so, that is. Oh, and then they've got a next episode of some trashy TV documentary running through their head, and it's absolutely got nothing to do with the situation. So out of respect of my own healing journey and my own divorce, I didn't write that book. I had to put that to the side. And the same thing with the Sacral series, the book Moana. I had to process a lot of stuff. I had to release a lot of stuff. I had to go on a healing journey for me to be able to write that. That book evolved so much. First, I was going to write it for an organisation in New Zealand, and then that kind of didn't happen. And then it was like, okay, that's still there. And then I did I did very deep meditation. I was lying on the beach with my crystals, having just been washed in the ocean and then placed on my chakras on different parts of my body. And then all of a sudden I just sat bolt upright and went, boom, okay, that's the Sacral series. I'm going to go back to the apartment now, start writing. Okay, what's happened?
I love, first of all, washed in the ocean. Oh, Dawn, that just sounds gorgeous. Just washed in the ocean. And your life, you've chosen to, like, it truly has it. You're nomad. There's no anchored location, but yet you are so anchored in your soul. Does the sailing help you to anchor in your soul?
Yeah, it does. It's my happy place. It's where I go to get away from people, because when you're on land, you're surrounded by people. You know, whether you're in the I mean, I don't go to a supermarket. I can't think of anything more awful. Well, I can, but oh God, a supermarket, God knows.
Well, nobody will find Dawn Bates at the supermarket.
If you do, something really bad has gone wrong.
We know to help you rescue her.
Oh God, yeah. Oh, just all that light, all that packaging, all that plastic, all that toxic food. Like, oh my God, it's just making me feel ill just thinking about being in a supermarket.
So you really try to get beyond it's not just about being on the ocean, and it's about, yes, being away from things that are interfering with your light, with your joy.
Because the thing is, it's like when you're out in the middle of the ocean and you're weeks away from land. I mean, when I sailed across the Atlantic, we were at sea for 3 months. We saw one other boat. It was great. I was just like, yes. Like 3 months, one other boat. It's like, oh, this is just fantastic. And that was only for about, I say a couple of hours, because I can see onto the horizon, and they were gone. But they went past us really quite quickly. But when you are surrounded by 360 degrees of blue, varying shades of blue, and you're on a boat with other people, one, you have to trust those other people that they've got your back.
Yes.
You have to trust your vessel, make sure that is running, and that is not going to fail you. You have to trust in your own knowledge that you actually know what to do if you end up the creek without a paddle, for a politer version. Yes. But you also have to trust yourself, and you also have to be of sound mind. Because if you cannot handle being by yourself, and you cannot handle the thoughts that will go through your mind, and if you've got anything lurking underneath the surface, the ocean is a great way to process and meditate. It's just a good way of switching off. There's no social media, there's no internet, there's no phone coverage. It's brilliant. I love it.
I love that you followed up with that, and I love that you said lurking under the ocean's a great way to process this. That I know we can jump into this still before the first commercial, but when people do sit down to write and they suddenly cannot, is that because there are some things they still need to process, that some things are lurking?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a reason why they're not writing it. Whether it's they're writing an article for money for someone else, or whether it's website copy, or whether it's a blog post every week, or whether it's a book, if you are not writing or you are not speaking in the way that you think you want to, it's because you're not in alignment.
Ooh, I love that you even included like a post as something as it doesn't have to be, hundreds of pages. It could be a simple statement, a statement.
Yeah,
So in order,
well, yeah, we can go on to that next.
yes, and I think that we should, because there's so much. Well, yes, now it's all flooding through me here right now. And just before because we're going to dive into that one. When you talk, because I love the listeners to hear this. How long have you been sailing? How long have you been on the ocean?
I've only been at sea for about 3 years. I was quarantined in Argentina for far too long. 7 months total isolation. Everything was locked down for 7 months. So coming and being around people has been a huge adjustment for me again. Because it's like, I've got to share space with people, and people don't live as cleanly or as they don't all live in the 5D realm, and you kind of like,
yes,
okay, I've got to adjust to this. What? Different language, different culture, different energy, different continent. There's always a shift going on.
The adjusting. I think that's actually good for everybody to know. So every time we wake up, we have to adjust to a new day, because it is a new energy, and it does bring about that. And so we are going to sneak away to those commercials, but when we come back, let's really find out. Let's dive into writer's block, whether it's a statement or a book, with Dawn Bates.
The best of the holistic, spiritual, and conscious world. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM. Being a radio host on IOM FM allows you to build your show on a rich platform with the power of the internet to fulfill your outreach goals and connect with a very specialized and global online audience, unlimited by time and distance. OMTimes Radio will provide you with web relevance, a recognizable conscious brand, and with the standard of excellence that has accompanied every single OMTimes endeavor. Host your show with OMTimes Radio Network.
Hi, this is David Strickle. I'm excited to share my brand new show, The Stream of David Live, right here on OMTimes Radio. Each week, I'll have exciting guests, and I'll channel the eternal wisdom of the stream, a group of non-physical entities whose teachings have transformed lives all over the world. So join us for an uplifting hour each Monday at 5 p.m. Eastern. That's The Stream of David Live, right here on OMTimes Radio.
A social distancing tip.
Putting distance between yourself and others is critical to slowing the spread of coronavirus. So here are ways to stay in contact without the physical contact part. Call, send a text, set up a video conference, post on social media, dedicate a song on the radio. If you have symptoms of fever, dry cough, and shortness of breath, call your healthcare provider before going to their office. For more info, visit coronavirus.gov.
Let's all do our part, because we're all #alone together. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
Welcome back, everyone. We are here with Dawn Bates. I just want to call her the most exciting and interesting person, but that's probably not the most correct way to introduce. Well, it is, but it isn't. For everybody listening right now, this isn't just this. Dawn isn't here just for the one that's already written a book, the author. This isn't. There are so many ways that we express and that we write, and that yes, you are this author strategist and leadership coach and a dynamic speaker and all those things. But what you have, and that I want to bring to everybody, was you have a way of understanding the type of strategy that we do need, but we have to be in alignment first before expressing in the way that we can. And that's even down to a post or a statement. So my question begins with, there's so many ways that we are now having to express. We didn't express in a post before. We didn't express in having to write sales copy this way, from thousands of years ago. So is it just maybe not right for us, or can we get into alignment so that this is effortless for us and that it flows and it feels good?
Yeah, of course we can. We just got to be brave enough to actually own ourselves.
Oh.
And this is the thing. It's like we can one of the things that stops people is the haters that are out there.
Yes.
And the fear that they're going to get hated on or attacked by what we call the keyboard warriors. People who haven't got the guts to say something to your face, but put a keyboard in front of them and they'll go to town on it. People that are willing, who will just read something but not actually think about what it is that they've read and not question it. Like I said, I've experienced that this weekend. I've had some real vicious comments based on something that I shared in a quote on my social media. It was for a lot of people, it's very controversial because they're so stuck in ego. And they're so stuck in being right all the time, and they're not willing to step back and go, oh, okay, why would she say something like that? Oh, okay, that's interesting. And this is the thing, when you step up and you write a book or you write a post or you are willing to, write and be vulnerable, or you are writing an article for a company, or you are writing a really powerful message for your team, the imposter syndrome comes in. Your fear kicks in. Do I know enough? Am I good enough? Am I inspiring enough? And then we get the comparisonitis that comes in, where we start comparing ourselves to other people, and then we listen to all the experts and, I should be doing this, I should be doing that. Well, you know what? I don't like doing videos a lot of the time. I haven't got any video. I do videos for the House of Preeminence magazine, which I'm an executive contributor for. I will do a video in my author coaching group, but I'm not making YouTube videos. I don't do videos on Instagram. It's not my thing. I'm a writer. I'm not a video creator. I'm not a podcast, although I do have empowering conversations via podcast and interviews.
Yes, you do.
And the reason why I'm called a molecule shaker rather than a truth settler is because just me being me shakes people's molecules. They're like, what? Huh? What do you mean she's left her kids with their dad and gone off sailing around the world? Like that in itself is, people have to process that. Well, why isn't she at home doing stuff for her kids? What do you mean she's running an online business and disappearing to sea for months on end? Or what do you mean she's location free? Like, how does that even work? So that in itself is molecule shaking. I don't need to even open my mouth, but you've got to be, I like to, especially when there's food involved. Food is my favorite ingredient. But the thing is, if you are not writing or creating from soul and it's not coming easy, it's because it's either not your medium or you are in fear of something.
Yes, thank you for saying that. I was going to ask you, and I'm really happy that you said that. It may not be your medium or the fear, because some people want to say, "Oh, you're just afraid of something," but it may not. It's funny. I'm not a video person. I prefer to do voice and audio. And ooh, that's fun sound. And I love that I used to write all the time, and now I'm finding it really challenging. So can our mediums shift?
Yeah, of course they can.
All right.
I used to do Facebook Lives all the time. All the time. And, I've been on TV. I do summits where I'm on stage, and, I've stood on stage, and I'm happy to do that. Right. But again, it's like when you look at my social media images, there's the one that I use on my website and the ones that I use on my promotion to have me with my body warmer with the collar over my mouth. The amount of people that do not like using that image, and they go, oh, well, media doesn't like that. Oh, people don't like that. That's not newsworthy. I'm like, that is very newsworthy. And here is why it's newsworthy. Because if you are not happy with me wearing that across my mouth, when that is part of my brand, because I'm the one that helps people unleash their message. I am about removing the blockages to people's messaging. But if you're telling me that I'm not newsworthy because there's something covering my mouth, are you telling me that women who wear the niqab, that are Muslim and wear it as a faith-based option, are you telling me that nothing they have to say is of value?
That's very, very accurate and deep. I like that you went deep there. I didn't know that. I actually thought that
the ocean, darling.
It's not just courage that I feel from you. I love that you said you mentioned keyboard warrior. You, in a way, I feel this warrior from you, but it's so from the heart. It's like a gentle warrior that I feel with you. You have enough push. Confidence. There you go. That's what it is. It's courage, but it's the confidence. When you were talking about how you have to trust your people around you that you've chosen, you have to trust your vessel, you have to trust your knowledge, but you have to trust in yourself to be of sound mind. Those are when somebody is lacking that, how do they begin to ask or look, what am I afraid of? What is this fear? And how can I become strong and have this inner strength to do this? Where do they start?
They start by choosing themselves.
Ooh, okay.
And they start by saying, asking themselves, I mean, there's a whole series process that I take my clients through.
Okay.
But again, it's like I have two quotes that are becoming quite well known, other than "Own your ovaries, ladies." They're always told to grow a pair. Well, I've already got a pair, and they're inside, and they're called ovaries.
My God, I love that.
But the thing is, it's like you have to give permission to give yourself permission to have permission. And then you also have to trust yourself, to trust others.
Repeat that last one. You have to trust yourself.
Layers. Sorry, did I cut out then?
Yeah, you did a little bit. So gift permission to give permission, and trust yourself before you trust others.
No, you need to gift yourself permission, to give yourself permission, to have permission, and then you have to trust yourself, to trust others.
Oh, I love that. Wow. So it doesn't begin with trusting others. I can, for anybody to sit down and write. It's not about trusting others. They need to trust themselves to trust themselves, then to trust.
Because
I get
there's so much self-doubt out there. And we're told that you have to do this, otherwise you're not going to be successful. And it's like, you have to choose confidence. People say to me, oh, but you're so confident, Dawn. I'm like, I choose to be. And sometimes I have to choose it every single blooming minute of the day.
Yes.
I have to choose to be confident to walk. Where I am at the moment, it's a new location. Do I take this path or do I take that path? Well, what's down this road? If I start walking down this road, what's actually going to be there?
Right.
I have to choose to be confident that my children, when they fly out to see me wherever I am and they fly solo, I have to choose confidence in them. And I have to choose confidence in the fact that I have taught them everything I can for them to be a competent solo traveler. I mean, my youngest, he's been flying around the world since he was 12 years old. I mean, he makes mincemeat out of Gatwick Airport, But the amount of mothers and the amount of parents that have hated and attacked me for being an irresponsible parent, and their children are, and they can't even tie their shoelaces, some of them. But this is the thing. It's like, if you are not willing to walk a day in my shoes and think I live a fabulous life because it's, living the dream. Well, you know what? Coming with that dream, there are sacrifices that I need to make. There are things that I still have to do my laundry. I have to still cook myself a meal. I still have to phone up the bank and go, okay, why have you stopped this payment? Oh, it's fraud checks. I can't hire someone to do that because they want me. The banks want me. They need to question me. So I still have to deal with things like that, especially with me traveling around the world. I mean, the amount of times on my phone, yes, I'm in a new location. No, I didn't let you know because I wasn't really sure where I was going. We had to change direction. There was a storm. We've had to stop off at this island or this country on the way. These things come up.
Yes. There is
you have to... Sorry.
Yes. There's there's an ease that after you continuously flexibility. There's an ease and confidence that can come within yourself if you are flexible. Because if you're rigid, there's not a lot of trust that you could bend a different way. You know, the flexibility comes with that. Was that natural to you? The flexibility?
Was it natural? I don't.
It's been so long. I don't remember.
Yeah. This is the thing, though. It's so natural, and you know, and it's like I've always been someone who's committed to the outcome, but not attached to the journey. So I've been committed to writing a book, let's say, but I've not been attached to how that comes through or how that happens. It's like, for example, yes, I have a team, and in some ways, like when someone says to me, like, for example, I'm looking for a new social media manager, because the social media manager that I have, you know, when someone says to me they're a social media manager, well, this is like not just about creating the images, but it's about creating the strategy and growing my social media presence. That's what a social media manager is, to me, you know. But to somebody else, a social media manager is someone who just designs all the graphics and then posts them.
Yes. So the understanding is different.
Absolutely. When someone says to me, you know, I'm an author, and I'm like, oh, okay, fantastic. What, you know, and then they tell me that they've published a book and it's their top 10 tips that they've just copied from that email. I'm like, you're not an author. You might have published a book, but you're not an author.
What is an author?
And if you're not,
who is an author when you say that?
For me, I mean, if we're going to get nitty gritty down to it, someone who has written something and published it, technically they're an author. So if I write emails, I've written something and I've published it, that makes me an author of an email. Okay? So technically, yes, I'm calling myself on this. Yes, they are an author. But really, if your book only made you so many sales within that 24 hours, you did an international bestsellers campaign, and you did like, you know, you had a 7-day lead up where you've got a pre-order, and then on the day that the book goes live, all those sales on your pre-order have dropped in, and you've got loads of sales in a 24-hour period because you sold your book at 99 cents, and then you've never ever made a penny since that day. Can you really call yourself an author?
I agree with that.
If you have decided you've had one client who's paid you, but then never had another client, are you in business?
Yes,
you know, I wouldn't cook one meal and then say I'm a chef.
I love that. Now that was helpful too. You are I'm so in agreement with you. When I learned about that strategy, I didn't, you know, a couple of years ago, I did learn about that with how to become the bestseller. And I thought, oh my gosh, that's fraud. It's a trick.
Yeah.
And it really upset me.
Manipulation.
Yes, it is. And so I love that you're talking about, you know, and it's not to say that all these people aren't true writers, that they didn't share their story, that they didn't put their tips out there. It's that there is a perception from other people that we're using as a facade, as an ego boost, and it's not true confidence. It's not true. And I love that you really talk about sharing from the soul writing. And I know I only have you for 3 or 5 more minutes, so I want to make sure I get into all the good and juicy stuff here right now. Because yes, you're touring and you're sailing, but you are so committed to the books right now. I'm so grateful that I met you before this, did not know that I would be writing with you and with Jocelyn Bellows and all the wonderful people, Tomas Garza and all these people. But with you, yes, you are a writer, but you also love helping authors. And can we make that invitation right now to those to get to know you, but also to work with you?
I can make as many invitations as you like.
Can we go sailing around on your yacht with you too?
I'm very careful on that one, because this is the thing. It's like, and I do use this as an analogy. You know, there are people who are at sea who are a liability. The ones who are just doing it just to say that they can do it, and then spend most of the time heaving over the side. You know, and wanting you to be there to take care of them. I am somebody who, I'm not for the faint-hearted, Lisa. I mean, the amount of times, Jocelyn, when we were writing and working on Breakdown to Wake Up, the amount of times that, I mean, she told me to go away in quite a strong modality on many occasions, and told me she hated me on several occasions, and because I called her on the, I'm like, no, like, I'm not going to allow you to play small. If you're not willing to go deep, and you're not willing to go big, and you're not willing to let go of your imposter syndrome, then we're done. And that's the thing. You're not paying me to be your friend. You're not working with me to tell you what you want to hear. You're working with me and paying me for results. You are paying me for your growth. And you're not investing in me, you're investing in yourself. And this is where a lot of people go wrong. And they're not prepared to have, they will say stuff to me. I can only present to people what I see and what I've learned over 22 years of developing leaders and, analyzing political systems and government systems and school systems. I've been, everything from, I've been working with politicians in the UK. I've looked at the leadership system within the police force, and I've been a school governor, and I've been a leader of organizations and global movements, and I've trained leaders and entrepreneurships around the world I've been in over 40 countries doing the work that I do. And still haven't covered half the world. But anyway, but what you don't get to have the results that you want by just resisting it or just thinking that someone's going to do it for you. You have to go deep within. You have to be presented. If you're saying one thing to me and I'm hearing one thing, I'm like, okay, well, I just heard this. Is that what you're saying? And some people can't handle me going, okay, this is what you just said. This is how I've understood it. Is that what you mean?
That is the most helpful thing you could do. I love that.
Well, and this is the thing, we can't, when people go, oh, well, I don't need a coach, I've got friends. I'm like, okay, well, then why are you still in the situation you're in then?
That's right. Yeah. I love your real approach. It's more than real. It's a soul real. It's not like it's a facade. It's not there. So I would love to make that invitation. Now, after commercial break, I'm going to come back and just talk about you with I know you'll know I'm saying good words, but about the books and everything. But I want to just say to everybody, please reach out to Dawn Bates, and I'm going to give all of her info when we're back. Thank you, Dawn, so much for sharing this big vision to us all.
You're very welcome. They've also got to be prepared to giggle, Lisa, because if they're not giggling, they're not working with me.
I love it. Yes, you are the guy. I love giggling with you. Well, thank you so much, Dawn. And I will talk to you soon. And I'll come back, everybody, after commercial and just share my wonderful stories and knowledge.
The best of holistic, spiritual, and conscious world. OMTimes Radio. IOM-FM. OMTimes Magazine is one of the leading online content providers of positivity, wellness, and personal empowerment. A philanthropic organization, their net proceeds are funneled to support worldwide charity initiatives via Humanity Healing International. Through their commitment to creating community and providing conscious content, they aspire to uplift humanity on a global scale. OMTimes, co-creating a more conscious lifestyle.
Consistently attract soulmate clients, begin showing up on brand, monetizing on your calling. Welcome all spiritual coaches, leaders, healers, light workers, and practitioners to a show that turns you on in your business and amplifies your magnetism. I'm host, catalyst, and spiritual business coach Rosalind Fung, and I'm here to journey with you into the juicy and help you discover where the real gaps are. Ignite your mindset and soul with strategies and systems as each episode takes you to the sweet spot that activates your soulgasmic business by tuning in on Tuesdays at 10 a.m. Mountain. Join me for your light language activation, and let's magnetize and monetize.
So I'm a cat, and I just moved in with this new human, and she's got this little toy she's always playing with all day long. Tap, 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 bloop, bloop. She can't put it down. There it is. Oh, and get this. She even talks to it. Last week she asked it for Chinese, and guess what? Egg rolls showed up. Like magic. Humans have cool toys.
A person is the best thing to happen to a shelter pet. Be that person. Adopt. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the ShelterPetProject.org.
All right, everybody, surprise! Yes, we get to keep Dawn for to the end of the show now. I'm so happy. Thank you, Dawn, for arranging that. Just before we left, I love that you mentioned about giggling. And why I'm sitting on this giggling thing is because I would love for you to offer the listeners a little bit of ray of hope there to say, yes, you're going to go through some hard stuff. You're going to break down. You're going to cry. You're going to scream. You're going to get angry. You're going to want to run and tell people to screw off. But there's giggling at the other end there. And for you to be able to share with some of the people listening, what's one super, like you just knew that was one of the toughest things that you had to go through, and can you share that experience and then how you did come through the other side giggling?
Well, I have a rule. I have to giggle every day. Giggle therapy is such a thing. And I have had to become the funniest person I know, because I spend 99.9% of the time by myself. And if I don't make myself giggle every day, then I'm like, oh, okay, you've had a bad day. Yeah, I have to make myself laugh, whether it's, I slide across the floor in my socks and see whether I can beat myself from, what I did yesterday, or whether it's dancing, like doing the Carlton to the jive in my Latin dance fitness that I do, or, I think of something that's funny. It's, laughing is such, they say it's the best medicine. So it is. But one of the hardest things I've had to do is leave my children, and I had to make a choice because I went through a situation in October 2017, and it had been building since I entered into a really toxic relationship back in July 2015, and it took me a while to end that relationship, and it happened because I hadn't allowed myself to heal properly after my 18-year marriage broke down. And this situation, I remember being in the bath listening to a podcast. It was a Friday night. The boys were having pizza and games night while Mummy was in the bath listening to podcasts or reading a book. That was our Friday nights. And I remember, and we'd been discussing that I would do this trip in 2022 when my youngest had left school.
Right.
And I remember listening to this podcast, and I don't even know what was said, but there was just something where I'm then on my knees in the bath and I am crying my eyes out. I need to be on the ocean. I can't not do this anymore. I have to go and heal myself, because I cannot be the mother that I want to be for my boys if I stay here. I am exhausted. I have been through hell. I cannot do this. And if I had not have made a choice to step away and actually say to their dad, it's your turn now, I need a break, I would have ended up, and this is why I always say that depression is a choice. And I know that is so controversial, and I know people hate me for it, but it is. You can choose to either stay in that space, or you can choose to step away from it. You can choose to get help, or you can choose to wallow in your own misery. I am not saying that there are some things that are physically out of whack in your brain. I've studied neurology and I've studied psychology and psychotherapy. So I'm not talking from, but I'm also speaking from experience.
Yes.
Choosing to leave my children and choose myself so that I could become a happier, a more aligned version of myself, and actually go, you know what? Sometimes we just have to say to our children, I need to be with myself right now, and I can't be your mother right now because I'm not well. I am in a lot of pain. I am in a lot of sadness. And, I just have to go do me right now.
Yes.
I had to choose, and that was hard. And then re-choosing myself at each and every single stage of this journey the day I had the flight back to the UK, because when I left, we all went to New Zealand for 5 weeks. They flew home. That was incredibly hard. Like, oh my God, my children are flying halfway around the world by themselves. Oh my God, what if the plane? I was on that flight radar 24 every 2 minutes. I'm like, it's not moved, does it? You know, but the day that the 6 months was up for me to go back to the UK, and I was on a yacht in paradise in Vanuatu in the middle of the Pacific, crying my eyes out because I've chosen myself again. And this is the thing, me doing that was the best thing I've ever done. Me choosing myself was the best thing I've ever done for myself and my children, and the relationship between me and my ex-husband, and the relationship between him and the boys. You know, the boys are getting, I mean, oh my God, I've been replaced by Alexa. You know, she turns on the lights, she turns off the lights, she announces things through the house. I'm sure she even does the laundry and folds their clothes at some point, you know.
That is such a powerful story, well, your story to share. And with that particular thing, to keep re-choosing myself over and over. I have to keep re-choosing myself over and over. And here it comes down to practice, because sometimes we do it once and it's really hard, like you said, but then you're like, oh my gosh, weeks later, I have to re-choose myself again. And does it get any easier or just, does it get any easier?
Well, every level you get to is, you know, it presents itself with a new challenge. But the biggest gift is my boys respect me now more, and they see me as a person rather than just their mum. You know, they have more respect for themselves. You know, my boys are like, well, you chose this. And I'm like, well, yeah, I know I did. They're like, well, then you've got to keep going. You're not coming home. Oh, my God. Like, and I'm like, look, just because you're going to miss out on your bragging rights that your mum's sailing around the world as an international best-selling author, and your friends Google me, right? But, you know, we have a lot of banter. My boys have got the funniest sense of humour, because if things get really tense, like if you're in the middle of a multi-million-dollar deal and you can't, and the pressure is on, you need someone you can giggle with to break that tension. If you're in a really tense situation, you need to be able to ease the tension with laughter. You know, if you're like really quiet and you find yourself really tense or stressed out with your kids, find something that will break the ice, or do something really daft. Yes. You know, pull a funny face or something, you know, or do the funky chicken dance just to break the ice, or just distract them with something else.
Yeah, you're making me think of when you say alignment, and then you're saying, you know, break to ease the tension, break the tension. I think that a lot of times we find ourselves in that tense moment because we have to. Oh, we're not aligned. It's too rigid. Again, there's that word rigid. We're not being flexible. So being able to that aligning ourselves really does mean to stop and notice where we are being rigid, when we aren't being serious, when we are in the tense moment of whether it's a big deal or a little, like cooking a meal that's not going right, and we're stressed out.
Absolutely.
Then we need to realign.
We do, and this is the thing. This is another reason why I say depression is a choice, because the thing is, we have to make a choice. Do I want to go, like, when we look at our future, there are certain things we know we don't want. We don't want to be in a car accident. We don't want to be a drug addict. We don't want to be an alcoholic. And we don't want to be depressed. But are we making conscious choices that actually keep us away from that? People think that I know I don't want to be in a car accident, so I'm going to drive carefully. I don't want to be a smack addict, therefore I'm not going to take smack. Therefore, I don't want to be depressed, so I'm not going to put myself into situations where I end up in that. Or I'm not going to be around people that bring me down, or I'm not going to eat food which make my mood lower. I'm not going to drink alcohol which makes me depressed. You know, and it's like we make these conscious choices. And yes, I get it. There are, like I said, there are some cerebral neurological things that, you know, they're not to do with choices. I'm not saying that, but we have become so accepting of what depression is that we allow it to happen. And then people like myself get hated on because you don't understand it, you're shaming people, you're saying it's easy. And I was asked the other day, you know, what if you've just lost somebody? And it's like, okay, let's just say your child dies. You can either choose for me, it is a choice. You can either choose to dishonor your child's death by becoming, I mean, I get that it's really sad. You know, I've lost people in my life. I can't imagine what it's like to lose a child. But when my ex-husband had a brain tumor, and I actually then went on to my neurological and neuroscience discovery, but we get to choose. I was grieving when my 18-year marriage broke down.
Yes.
But I chose not to allow that to affect me. When the incident happened in October 2017, I could have chosen to go down the spiral of depression. And I was like, okay, how can I use what has happened for me and for the good of humanity? And what can I learn from this so that I don't go down that spiral? But we allow ourselves to be consumed. You know, a friend of mine, and it was my friend who lost her child that taught me this. She said, if I allow the death of my child to destroy my life and choose to be in a state of misery all the time, I am dishonoring my child. My child died. And
they want this just to celebrate the life that you do have. And I know we're talking about that death, but parts of us can die if we with our choices. And I love that you know, if we're talking to people even just about writing, you know, sitting down to write, if a part of you, I want to come back to that choice thing. And what I'm trying to highlight here is I remember being in a situation where I thought I was in prison, and they were putting me in prison, and all of a sudden I chose to get out. And ready for this, I looked back and I went, oh my gosh, the bars were simply a choice. And when we're talking about writing, what you're saying is, how did you had to choose to be able to write the way you wrote throughout all of these things, throughout all your things in your life. And I love this about the choice. And I love that you help people to see, oh, okay, like I need to look to see what choices have I made that are stopping me from doing X, Y, Z.
And are the choices I'm making leading me to where I want to be? Whether it's as simple as, am I going to eat a bar of chocolate every day and eat burger and chips, but I actually really want to be thin and be a body sculpting athlete, or am I choosing to be surrounded by people who make me miserable, or staying in a job I don't like, or choosing to put off a book instead of going, actually I need to deal with this right here, right now. What is it that's stopping me? And is this thing that I'm choosing allowing me to get to where I want to be? If it's not getting me to where I want to be, then why am I doing it? Why am I being that person? Where in my ego, where can I allow my ego to fall away? Where can I shed a skin? And I call it the party test, like, especially when it comes to invitations. If I invited these people in my life to my party and they said yes, how would I react? Would it be, oh God? Or would it be, yes, they're coming? Or if I was to go here, how much of a hell yes is it? And how much of it is it, oh no, I've got to go to work today. Oh, I've got to write this article. Oh, I've got to write this book. There's very negative energy there where it's like, oh yeah, I'm going to write this book. Let's do it.
Yes. I know there's definitely been times where I'll be sitting, literally doing something with somebody, and I think, I have to go now. I can't help myself. I want to go write it right now. And the other times it's like, please save me from this. I don't want to go write this. And I want to repeat this one thing you said. Question for all the listeners right now. This is from Dawn Bates. She's asking you, are the choices that you're making leading you to where you want to be? And if they are not, what is it? Why is it? Why are you making those choices? And if you can't figure out, you must connect with Dawn and see if there's an alignment there that you can help, because you do hold that space for them. Dawn, like you're you're strong. You've got big arms, big hearts to hold them.
I've got big ovaries, love.
Yes. There you go. I'm going to laugh at that for so long. But let's make that other party invitation right now, because you don't work with everybody. You may talk with somebody and say, nope, that I'm not going to be giggling. That's not going to work. Yeah. So what's the process they can do if they think, I need to speak with this woman?
Well, they can go to my website, dawnbates.com, and on there they will find services, and they can book into a discovery call with me. So they can go that way, or they can, if they if they want, I mean, that is my preferred method. If they're not quite sure if they want to jump on a discovery call with me just yet, and they want to go, actually, I think I need to ease into this. I think I need to paddle before I go for a swim in the middle of the Atlantic. Then they can start following me on social media. All my social media platforms are on my website, but they can find me on social media by following Real Dawn Bates. And it's quite interesting. Even me having Real Dawn Bates triggered people because they were like, "Oh, what, you think you're the only one?" I was like, "No, why have you got Real Dawn Bates?" And I said, because when I see Real Dawn Bates on my social media, then it reminds me that I need to be the real Dawn, not some fake person.
I love how you live for yourself. Everybody, keep choosing yourself over and over and over. Dawn, you are certainly doing that and expressing and leading the way for this. Thank you so much for sharing this time with me.
You're very
Dawn.
welcome. Thank you.
We're going to put all the information up for everybody to connect and learn more, but just beautiful time. Thank you, everybody. Keep on writing. Re-choose yourself. Mwah. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.